Welcome to today's study. Let's just jump right in, shall we? Today, we are going to impartially unpack some seriously intricate scriptural connections and fascinating prophetic theories presented by the YouTube channel Wackadoodle Samoan. If you want to dive into the original material yourself, we highly encourage checking out the source channel, and a link is below in the description box. So what are we looking at today? Well, we're taking a highly structured look at a hypothesis that attempts to weave together ancient biblical texts with some incredibly specific future astronomical anomalies. We are going to unravel exactly why a particular date in September 2026 is generating so much intense curiosity right now, all by following the logical flow laid out by the source. Let's get started.
To kick off this study, the source channel establishes a really intriguing foundational question. They ask, could the second chapter of the book of Joel actually be a shadow of a specific rescue event, rather than just a standard depiction of the second coming? It's a paradigm shift, for sure. The theory suggests that Joel 2 isn't just history or a general end times battle narrative, but that it actually operates as a profound deductive puzzle. The source is asking us to look at the text as a hidden blueprint, one that points toward a very sudden, highly specific deliverance.
Okay, so let's look at how the source interprets the famous first verse of Joel chapter 2. It says, "Blow ye the trumpet in Zion and sound an alarm in my holy mountain." Now, historically, a lot of people read this as referring to earthly geography, right? Specifically Jerusalem. But the source theorizes something highly unconventional here. They propose that this particular trumpet blast and the location of Zion itself actually don't refer to an earthly mountain at all. Instead, the clues lead them to suggest that this alarm originates from a completely different dimension, specifically God's throne room, which is often referred to as the third heaven.
To back this up, they connect this concept of the holy mountain from Joel with the heavenly descriptions we see in Psalms 24 and 99. The channel proposes that this mountain of the Lord is the ultimate heavenly domain. And to add some serious narrative weight to this idea, they point over to Isaiah 14. That's where the adversary actually boasts about exalting his throne above the stars and sitting upon the mount of the congregation. So the logic here is that there's a literal cosmic conflict happening over a heavenly Mount Zion, and this heavenly domain is the true literal source of that divine trumpet blast.
From there, the theory examines Joel 2:15, which commands the sanctification of a fast and a solemn assembly. The source directly links this earthly command to Yom Teruah, beautifully recognized as the Feast of Trumpets. If you know about Yom Teruah, you know it's a biblical day of deep, profound introspection, marked by the loud, penetrating blasts of the ram's horn. The source makes a fascinating connection here, suggesting that the dimensional trumpet blown in the heavenly Zion perfectly coincides with this exact appointed earthly feast day. It's essentially marrying the cosmic timeline with historical earthly traditions.
So on this specific day of solemn assembly, the source channel points out an event hidden right there in the very next verse. Joel 2:16 says, "Let the bridegroom go forth of his chamber and the bride out of her closet," or her canopy. The theory highlights a really profound metaphor happening here. They interpret the bridegroom as Christ and the bride as the remnant church. On this sanctified day, the bridegroom suddenly emerges from his prepared chamber for one instantaneous specific purpose: to retrieve his waiting bride.
Now, the absolutely crucial point is where he takes her next. The channel connects this sudden emergence of the bridegroom directly over to Isaiah 26:20. The theory posits that the bridegroom comes out specifically to bring the bride back into these prepared heavenly chambers. And why? The text says it's to hide thyself, as it were, for a little moment until the indignation be overpast. It's an incredibly vivid narrative picture, isn't it? Escaping an incoming, devastating earthly wrath by being safely hidden away in a heavenly sanctuary just moments before disaster strikes. This brings us to a truly fascinating textual observation about the New Testament. The channel points out that when the Apostle Peter was preaching in the book of Acts, he stopped quoting Joel chapter 2 exactly halfway through verse 32. He quotes the part about, "Whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved," but then he just dramatically halts before the second half. Why would an inspired apostle stop mid-sentence? Well, the source theorizes that prophecy is perfectly linear. The second half of that verse speaks of a specific deliverance in Mount Zion for a remnant. The source ties this directly to the salvation mentioned in Revelation 12, suggesting Peter stops because he knew that specific Mount Zion deliverance belonged to a distant, future timeline that hadn't happened yet. Seamlessly bridging into the second half of this theory, the source channel asks a really critical question regarding Joel's prophecy. Joel mentions the sun turning to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord. Now, The traditional understanding assumes these are separate events, happening months or even years apart. But the source asks a total paradigm-shifting question here to build on this mystery. Could these two celestial bodies actually change at the exact same time?
Unlike historical patterns where solar and lunar eclipses occur weeks apart, the source channel proposes an anomalous theory. Let's just think about the astrophysics for a second. A solar eclipse requires the moon to be exactly between the Earth and Sun, right? But a lunar eclipse requires the Earth to be between the Sun and Moon. They rely on completely opposite ends of the orbital cycle. That makes a simultaneous event naturally impossible. Because of this, the source suggests Joel wasn't seeing a normal eclipse. He foresaw a supernatural anomaly, a simultaneous darkening of the sun and reddening of the moon.
And this brings us to a highly specific date, the absolute focal point of this entire deductive puzzle. The channel pinpoints the upcoming Feast of Trumpets, Yom Teruah, precisely on September 11th, 2026. The source notes that on this specific date on the earthly calendar, the celestial bodies align perfectly, with the new moon positioned directly between the Earth and the Sun.
So what does that alignment actually mean for observers down here on Earth? It means 0% illumination. At this exact time, the new moon will be completely dark, basically acting as a blank canvas up in the sky. The source explains that this is treated as a full-day event because the moon travels so close to the glaring light of the sun that it's entirely swallowed by the daylight, making it completely invisible to us.
Now, things get incredibly specific astronomically. Using the Stellarium astronomy software and virtually removing the Earth's atmosphere in the program so you can see the stars during the daytime, the source observes an incredible alignment. At exactly high noon in Jerusalem on this September 11th, 2026 date, the sun is positioned in the constellation Virgo in a way that appears to clothe the woman. According to the source, this proves that tremendous biblical celestial signs can occur even when they are completely hidden from our eyes by the atmospheric daylight. According to the channel, this celestial alignment, the sun clothing the woman in Virgo right at high noon, acts as a massive cosmic signal. A signal for what? For the antagonist of the entire story, the great red dragon of Revelation 12. As the prophecy dictates, the dragon enters the scene and stands ready to devour the child as soon as it is born. You can really feel the immense tension building in this prophetic narrative. Here is where the source's theory hits its absolute crescendo. The channel theorizes a breathtaking scenario to explain that simultaneous sun and moon event Joel saw. What if the physical manifestation of this great red dragon in the heavens is so unimaginably massive that it actually acts as an eclipsing body? Think about that. The entity itself literally blocks out the midday sun, making it black as sackcloth, and at the exact same moment, the immense, radiating ambient red energy of this dragon illuminates that 0% dark new moon, causing it to glow blood red. It is a stunningly vivid way to interpret an otherwise impossible astronomical event. Because the dragon is standing there right before the woman, ready to strike, the source points to the ultimate sudden outcome found in Revelation 12:5. The man-child, and by extension the church remnant, is instantly caught up unto God and to his throne. This perfectly ties together all the thematic threads we've been looking at today. They are taken directly to that heavenly Mount Zion we talked about, safely hidden in the chambers from Isaiah, fulfilling the Joel 2 deliverance literally moments before the indignation falls.
To summarize this incredibly detailed study, the source channel maps out a continuous, four-step story of cause and effect. Step 1. A dimensional trumpet blast in the heavenly Zion signals the solemn assembly of Yom Teruah. Step 2. The bridegroom immediately exits his chamber to retrieve the bride. Step 3. The massive manifestation of the dragon simultaneously darkens the sun and reddens the moon, precisely on September 11, 2026. And finally, Step 4. The remnant is safely delivered to the heavenly throne room.
As we bring this study to a close, this impartial summary leaves us pondering some profound implications. Could September 11, 2026 actually be the culmination of Joel's ancient vision? There's no denying that the source channel makes some incredibly intricate, structured connections between ancient prophetic texts and future celestial anomalies. It really forces a complete reevaluation of standard biblical metaphors and natural astronomy, leaving us with a lingering curiosity about the intersection of ancient texts and our future skies. Before we wrap up, I want to pass along a warm message directly from the source. Prayers for the Watchmen channels are very much appreciated, and give a hype and like please. We also want to end this study with a big thanks for the Gospels Compared members for helping this channel produce fruit. Thank you all so much for joining me in breaking down this fascinating material today. Keep studying, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.